Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. His Excellency Governor of Bank Indonesia, Bapak Agus Dewi Martowardoyo, Minister of Finance Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Bambang P. Brojonegoro, Honorable President of Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, Honorable Director General of Islamic Research and Training Institute, Islamic Development Bank, Professor Dr. Dato Muhammad Azmi Omar, prominent speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning and a warm welcome to the side event of Islamic Development Bank's annual meeting 2016 on the seminar of Islamic Development Bank Global Forum on Islamic Finance, covering the theme, Role of Islamic Finance in Achieving Sustainable Development Goal, Monday, 16 May 2016. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the agenda, let us listen to the recitation of the Holy Quran. We would like to invite Bapak Ahmad Mustaqim for reciting the Quran.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى فله ما سلف وأمره إلى الله ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Bapak Ahmad Mustaqim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. May Allah Subhanahu wa Taala give us His guidance and help and bless our event today. Amin. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite Director General, Islamic Research and Training Institute, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azmi Omar, to deliver his welcome note. Professor Muhammad Azmi Omar, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellencies, Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, President of the IDB Group, Dr. Bambang Brojonegoro, Minister of Finance, Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Agus Martowardoyo, Governor Bank Indonesia, Deputy Governors, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome all of you to this 11th edition of the IDB Group Annual Forum on Islamic Finance, with the theme, the role of Islamic finance in achieving sustainable development goals. The organizers, IRTI, together with the Bank of Indonesia, has set up two objectives to this forum. One is to discuss the role of Islamic finance in achieving SDGs in a global perspective, and secondly, to evaluate the challenges IDB member countries may face in implementing Islamic finance to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. This half-day forum will not be realized without the full support and cooperation of Bank Indonesia, Ministry of Finance Indonesia, and the officials from the IDB Group and all of you here today. So on behalf of both institutions, I would like to thank all of you for your attendance today, and thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Azmi. And now I would like to invite President of Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Ahmad Mohamed Ali, to deliver his welcome speech. Dr. Ahmad Mohamed Ali, I give you the floor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته أجمعين. معالي الدكتور بامبانج بيرمادي وزير المالية الإندونيسي، معالي السيد آغوس دي دبليو مارتو واردو جيوا محافظ مصرف إندونيسيا، الإخوة والأخوات، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني أن أرحب بكم في هذا المنتدى العالمي 11 لمجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية حول التمويل الإسلامي الذي ينظمه المعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب بالتعاون مع بنك إندونيسيا المركزي، تحت شعار دور التمويل الإسلامي في إحراز أهداف التنمية المستدامة. وأتوجه باسمكم جميعا بخالص الشكر لهذا الجمع الكريم من واضعي السياسات والعلماء والممارسين والمهنيين والأكاديميين الذين جاءوا من شتى أصقاع المعمورة لتدارس جملة من القضايا ذات الأهمية البالغة على سلم أولويات التمويل الإسلامي. ولا يفوتني أن أشكر الجهات المنظمة لهذا المنتدى، وفي مقدمتها بنك إندونيسيا المركزي والمعهد الإسلامي للبحوث والتدريب عضو مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية. أيها الإخوة والأخوات، لقد اعتمدت كافة الدول الأعضاء في منظمة الأمم المتحدة رسمياً تحويل عالمنا بواسطة خطة تنمية مستدامة دخلت حيز التنفيذ في مطلع هذا العام 2016 ميلادية. تركز الخطة كما تعلمون أيها الإخوة والأخوات على أبعاد 3، هي النمو الاقتصادي والإدماج الاجتماعي وحماية البيئة، وتشجع على تمكين الجميع من تحقيق تطلعاتهم في العيش بكرامة دون إقصاء أو تمييز، وتحقيق العدالة والسلم المجتمعي ومعالجة الأخطار الناجمة عن التغييرات المناخية والتقليل في استخدام موارد الطبيعة. إن هذه الأهداف جميعها تجد منابع في التوجيه القرآني الحكيم بالسعي لعمارة الأرض. فالتنمية تكليف شرعي في المقام الأول. قال تعالى في محكم التنزيل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: هو أنشأكم من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. فالبشرية مأمورة بعمارة الأرض لتلبية حاجة سكان المعمورة، والتنمية شرط لكفاية أفراد المجتمع، وضمان لاستجماع مستلزمات أمنه الغذائي واستقلاله الاقتصادي، وكل أولئك من المقاصد الشرعية المرعية. والقاعدة الفقهية تقضي بأن ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. أيها الإخوة والأخوات، يمثل التركيز على وسائل التنفيذ أحد أبرز شروط نجاح الخطة، حيث يتطلب تنفيذها استثمارات كبيرة تستلزم تعبئة موارد مالية ضخمة من جميع المصادر. ونحن نرى أن التمويل الإسلامي بخصائصه ومميزاته مؤهل للاطلاع بدور فعال في حشد الموارد الضرورية لإحراز أهداف التنمية المستدامة. ذلك أن فلسفة التمويل الإسلامي تدعم النمو عميم النفع بالاستثمار في الاقتصاد الحقيقي المنتج للثروة، وبما يقتصر على المجالات التي تعود على المجتمع بالنفع، مع الموازنة بين المصالح العامة والخاصة وبين تحقيق الربح المادي والعائد الاجتماعي. ويساعد تنوع صيغ التمويل والاستثمار الإسلامي كالمضاربة والمشاركة والمرابحة والسلم والمزارعة والاستصناع على دعم النمو بتمويل المشاريع ذات التكلفة العالية، بينما تعين تمويلات القطاع الخيري الإسلامي من الوقف والزكاة والصدقات على التمكين الاقتصادي لمن لا تبلغهم ثمار النمو. وقد جلبت تلكم الخصائص التي يتميز بها التمويل الإسلامي اهتماما متزايدا ووعيا متناميا بما يمكن أن يقدمه التمويل الإسلامي في سبيل إحراز أهداف التنمية المستدامة وتحقيق الاستقرار المالي والتوزيع العادل للثروة والرخاء المشترك. أيها الأخوة والأخوات، إننا نتطلع إلى مساهمتكم في تأمين المتطلبات الضرورية لتطوير المالية الإسلامية وتذليل العقبات أمامها، وإلى الاقتراحات التي تدلون بها من أجل تحقيق المقاصد التالية. أولاً، استجابة المالية الإسلامية لتحديات دعم عجلة التنمية المستدامة والازدهار الاقتصادي بما يستلزم ذلك من آليات ومعايير وبحوث وتدريب وتأهيل. ثانياً، تطوير منتجات مالية إسلامية لتحفيز الإدماج المالي لكافة فئات المجتمع، وتطويع الخدمات المصرفية لاحتياجات التمويل الإسلامي الأصغر والتمكين الاقتصادي الذي يساهم في الحد من الفقر والبطالة. ثالثاً، استحداث آليات مبتكرة لتثمير السيولة على نحو يمكن من الإسهام بفاعلية في تمويل الخدمات الأساسية وشمول الجميع بها. وتتطلع مؤسساتكم البنك الإسلامي للتنمية إلى ما سيخرج به هذا المنتدى من توصيات وتوجيهات للإفادة منها في سبيل الإسهام الراقي في تحقيق الازدهار والاستقرار للجميع. وأسأل الله أن يوفق الجميع لما يحبه ويرضاه، وبالله الهداية والتوفيق، وسلام من الله عليكم جميعا ورحمته وبركاته.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speech will be delivered by His Excellency Minister of Finance of Republik Indonesia, Bapak Bambang P. Brojonegoro. Bapak Bambang, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, President of Islamic Development Bank Group, Bapak Agus Martowardoyo, Governor of Bank Indonesia, Pak Asmi, Director General of IRTI, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The world has made some remarkable progress in eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, as mandated on the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs. Referring to the UN website on the MDGs, the target of halving extreme poverty has been accomplished 5 years ahead of 2015 deadline. However, the challenge to achieve sustainable development becomes more and more dynamic. Building upon the successful implementation of the MDGs in 2015, the world leaders met again and agreed to go much further than the MDGs by looking at the root causes of poverty and the universal need for development in a new framework of sustainable development goals. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development comprises a set of 17 sustainable development goals which aim to end poverty, fight inequality and injustice, and tackling climate change by 2030. The agenda covers a broader sustainability area and attempts to achieve people's aspiration for peace and prosperity, as well as to preserve the planet, which also raised the new challenge for the role of Islamic finance to support the sustainable development goals. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that Islamic finance has a significant role to address the SDGs. Islamic finance provides a transparent and equitable transaction between parties. Many aspects in the SDGs are covered by the Islamic finance, including inclusive society, equality, partnership, and justice for all. With those characteristics,
Islamic finance is believed will be able to reduce inequality within and among the countries, which is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals that attempt to reduce inequality by empowering the bottom percentile of income earners. Out of the features of Islamic finance specified, Islamic microfinance, Sukuk, and Islamic social finance fit the Sustainable Development Goal spirit. The most important characteristic of the Islamic microfinance institution is trust upon which business model of Islamic microfinance institution was based on creditor and lender relation. Most customers that the Islamic microfinance institutions serve are the poor, which are non-bankable but willing and able to actively participate in the economy. For those reasons, Islamic microfinance is very in line with poverty alleviation. In summary, Islamic microfinance institutions perform dual missions of socio-religious and economic objectives. The socio-religious function is to support the destitute and the needy, while the economic objective is related to activities dedicated to generating profits in order to maintain their long-term operation and financial sustainability. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic social finance sector that broadly comprises the traditional Islamic institution based on philanthropy such as zakah, sadaqah, and awqaf plays an important role in supporting such SDGs program. Referring to Islamic Social Finance Report 2014 released by Islamic Development Bank, in the face of large-scale poverty among Muslims of South and Southeast Asia, the role of Islamic social finance assumes great significance. Waqf, in fact, can play a role as a mechanism for institutionalizing charity. The mechanism of Waqf should result in a corpus that is either intact or growing. It has a legal identity separate from its manager, and therefore it is most suitable for creation of institution in the voluntarily or non-for-profit sector. By creating community assets, Waqf has the potential to create robust not-for-profit entities that may address the education, healthcare, and other social needs in Muslim societies. In Indonesia, we still need to make hard effort to manage Waqf assets effectively. Today, the size of registered land Waqf in Indonesia is equal to 1,400 kilometers square, with market value is estimated to be equal 60 billion US dollars, but most of them are still idle. If these huge Waqf assets can be managed optimally, for sure, it can significantly contribute to the welfare of the society. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, lastly, discussing more market-based instrument of Islamic finance, we believe that Sukuk is effective in promoting resilient infrastructure and sustainable economic development. Sukuk naturally controls the need of financing based on its underlying asset. It also provides a protective mechanism and natural hedging from excessive financing that makes industry more sustainable. In Indonesia, Sukuk has played a very significant role in most of infrastructure financing. In this respect, besides issuing Sukuk for general budget financing, the Indonesian government has issued Sukuk that directly earmarked to finance infrastructure projects such as railroad, highway, bridges, etc. This kind of project financing Sukuk gives assurance of the effectiveness of the utilization of the Sukuk proceeds. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, to end my speech, let me iterate that the Islamic finance is able and has to contribute to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Government, private sector, and communities all are having their own duties and responsibilities to achieve Sustainable Development Goals. I hope you all have a productive discussion at this seminar. And as the host country of the 41st annual meeting of the Islamic Development Bank, I hope you also enjoy the hospitality of our culture. Please do visit the exhibition hall on your spare time. And also I would like to thank Bank Indonesia for together hosting this event with Earthy. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Bambang. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite His Excellency Governor of Bank Indonesia to deliver his speech. Bapak Agus Dewi Martowardoyo, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, President of Islamic Development Bank, Bapak Menteri Keuangan Republik Indonesia, Bapak Bambang Brojonegoro, Director General Islamic Research and Training Institute, prominent speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Praise to Allah the Almighty, the most gracious and the most merciful for His blessing. Prayers and peace be upon the last prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions and followers. It is my distinct pleasure to warmly welcome all the participants and speakers to the 11th IDB Global Forum on Islamic Finance. This forum becomes very timely as global society is pursuing the noble objective of Sustainable Development Goal. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the SDGs have set more challenging targets compared to the Millennium Development Goals, addressing the root causes of poverty and the universal need for development. Achieving SDGs requires huge financing from various sources, considering among others the fact that there are approximately 1 billion people still living in extreme poverty today. The challenge is in part how to provide adequate financing to meet the SDGs. All sources of finance need to be optimized to support achievement of SDGs, including Islamic finance. Islamic finance is expected to provide significant contribution across 2030 agenda, since it has inherent characteristics to catalyze and promote sustainable development. However, challenges remain. Although the size of Islamic finance industry has shown an impressive performance, growing from $1 trillion in 2009 to almost $2 trillion in 2014. Data showed that Islamic finance so far could only provide a limited contribution in achieving SDGs. The size of Islamic finance is still modest, as the share of Islamic finance is still very small, representing only 1% of the total global financing. We acknowledge that some strategic steps have been taken by certain authorities at national and global level to accelerate the development of Islamic finance. However, more needs to be done. In my views, there are at least 3 main challenges that need to be tackled. First, slow pace of product innovation. Second, lack of Islamic finance expertise. Third, inadequate commitment in the implementation of international standards. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the case of Indonesia, we have taken progressive approach to deal with these challenges. Bank Indonesia already developed a comprehensive blueprint for Islamic economic and finance development comprising 5 strategic pillars as follows. First pillar is product and market development, with the aim at encouraging innovation in Islamic financial and liquidity instruments to to promote financial deepening. So far, we have already issued regulation for Islamic hedging instrument and enhanced money market regulation by introducing Sharia repo. Second pillar is human capital and market empowerment to improve education and further enhance the competency of human resources in Islamic financial industry. We have an annual prestigious event named Indonesian Sharia Economic Festival as a strategic forum to promote Islamic finance in Indonesia. We welcome your participation in the forthcoming event on October 2016. Third pillar is strengthening regulatory and supervisory frameworks. We have initiated international zakat and wakaf core principles aiming at regulating and empowering the zakat and wakaf institution. We are also exploring the possibility on how to utilize wakaf fund as source of financing for national development. Fourth pillar is infrastructure support for real sector and micro, small, medium enterprises, development through formulation of the optimal Islamic financing model, as well as designing the entrepreneurship and business model development. The fifth pillar is promoting an efficient industrial structure by an active participation in formulating efficient Islamic financial system architecture, initiating an establishment of international body, and strengthening strategic alliance. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I would like to underline that the Islamic finance plays a very pivotal role in achieving 2030 agenda. I believe that all we have done and what we are going to do will become our legacy in preserving financial stability as well as promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth to deliver more prosperity in our economy. May Allah Almighty bestow us the strength and patience to persevere in fulfilling our duty for a better future. I thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Please remain on the stage to receive the token appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, as the appreciation from Islamic Development Bank to Bank Indonesia as the co-host of this event, the President of Islamic Development Bank will give the token of appreciation to the Governor of Bank Indonesia. To present token appreciation, we would like to invite Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali to come on stage. Thank you, and please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, given the potential role of Islamic finance to economic development, the Islamic Development Bank Group has partnered with the World Bank Group to undertake a research on the topic of Islamic finance, a catalyst for shared prosperity, as the general theme for the inaugural edition of the Global Report of Islamic Finance. And on this auspicious moment, this report will be launched. Ladies and gentlemen, to launch the report, now we would like to invite Director General Islamic Research and Training Institute, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azmi Omar, to come on stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have in a short while is to show to you a global report that is jointly done between Islamic Development Bank Group and World Bank Group. The report is called Global Report on Islamic Finance, with the theme Islamic Finance, a Catalyst for Shared Prosperity. This report that we are launching today is a synthesis report, not the full report. The full report, inshallah, will also be launched during the World Bank IMF meeting in Washington, D.C. This year. So this report, if I can ask, okay, this report has already been completed. So we have a short, objective of the report. The first one is to develop understanding of the theoretical foundation of Islamic finance and shared prosperity. Secondly is to review recent developments and trends in various sectors of Islamic finance, such as banking, capital markets, and social finance. And finally, to identify policy interventions and tools for policymakers to leverage Islamic finance to eradicate extreme poverty and ensure equitable distribution of wealth. So as you can see, this report goes in line very much with the Sustainable Development Goals. So now I would like to call upon the President of IDB, the Minister of Finance in Indonesia, as well as Dr. Agus, the Governor of Bank Indonesia, to the stage so that we can hand over the report to both of them.
Yeah, as the symbolization of the launching of this report, Professor Azmi will give the report to the Governor of Bank Indonesia and the Minister of Finance of Republic Indonesia. Continue with group photograph. Thank you, and please be seated. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we move to the panel discussion session. Before we begin the session, allow me to first broadly go through the agenda as follows. The panel discussion will consist of two sessions. The first session will covering the theme on the role of Islamic finance in sustainable development growth, national and local perspective. The first session will end until the break time, and after the break time, we will continue to the second session that will focusing on the role of Islamic finance in sustainable development growth, global perspective. Now, we will now begin the first session covering the topic on the role of Islamic finance in sustainable development growth, national and local perspective. Chairing the session will be the Vice President, Cooperative and Capacity Development, Islamic Development Bank, Mr. Sayyid Aka. The three speakers presenting their topics are His Excellency Mr. Amado A. Kuli, Governor of Central Bank of the Gambia, His Excellency Dr. Israt Hussain, former Governor of State Bank of Pakistan, His Excellency Bapak Dr. Ferry Wardio, Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite Mr. Sayyid Aka to come on stage and lead the session. ladies and gentlemen. Since the central bank governor of Zambia is still on the way, so we can start with the two speakers.
We're here. We're complete. Very good. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are quite honored after very inspiring and thought-provoking opening remarks that we have an equally well-known, well-experienced leaders of financial world in our region, in IC member countries, but also with excellent global experience and regional coverage. The topic or the focus of our session is the role of Islamic finance in achieving SDGs from a local perspective. So we will try to bring to you the hands-on, practical, local experiences from our distinguished speakers. Then we will take a few questions, and please, during the questions, keep your questions while all our three speakers complete their interventions, and time permitting, then we will go to second round. Let me, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, just mention the names of our speakers as you know them very well, need not detailed introduction, but also in the interest of saving time for their sort of harvesting their brain products here in this session. We will keep the introduction to bare minimum. We have His Excellency Mr. Amadou Gole, the Governor of the Central Bank of Gambia, who will bring us the expertise of from a perspective from Gambia, but also African perspective. So we have the African continent perspective. Then we have our distinguished speaker, His Excellency Dr. Ishrat Hussain, who's the former governor of State Bank of Pakistan, with enormous experience at the World Bank, IMF, Islamic Development Bank, in a number of countries as well, with different awards and distinctions. So he is here with us to learn and benefit from his experience and thoughts. And last but not least, we have His Excellency Piri Oranjo, the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Indonesia, and you heard from the Governor about the sort of headlines of the strategies and achievements. We hope that to hear from Your Excellency about the substance and the meat on the bone, as we say, on the subject. So without any further ado, I would like to ask His Excellency Dr. Amadou, as we say in our part of the region, Ahmad, and in Africa, Amadou. So the SDGs as well probably have similar paints and colors in different regions. So if you could tell us that we know all about the SDGs, but we want to know more about, from an African and Gambian perspective, what Islamic finance will contribute to achieving the 17 goals and 169 targets that we have.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum to all participants present here. I'm indeed delighted to be to participate in such an important event. And you're right. I'll be looking at this theme from a national perspective, that's from Gambia's experience, and a sub-regional one. Sub-regional in the sense that there are certain initiatives which involves about 2-3 countries, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, at least the English-speaking West African countries, to have come together, to promote Islamic finance. Relating to SDGs, and without boring you on what they are and what they stand for, I think I would focus on the role of the Islamic finance in the Gambia vis-a-vis poverty reduction. Just some brief background. I think the Gambia is one of the few countries who have been blessed with the evolution of Islamic finance in West Africa, or in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa specifically, with at least an Islamic bank, Arab Gambian Islamic Bank, microfinance, and a takaful, insurance. I think what we have come to realize, especially as a member of the regulatory institution, is the potential, the willingness, the preparedness of investors, to put money in Islamic financial instruments. It so happened that the establishment of the Arab Gambian Islamic Bank, in as much as is small, contributing to perhaps less than 10% of the total asset of the entire financial system of the country, we see that as a major improvement. But more importantly, I think what I want to focus on is the sort of products and how they affect small-scale enterprises, the so-called SMEs, and how poverty reduction, how these people, these investors, that associate themselves with these institutions have gotten their lives improved, either in terms of economic well-being, or in terms of education, or in terms of access to markets. Now, the banking sector is such that, as is common with most countries, dominated by conventional financial institutions, be it banks, be it microfinance institutions, or insurance. But the coming into being of the Arab Gambian Islamic Bank, the Takaful Insurance, the microfinance insurance, microfinance Islamic sector of the financial system of the Gambia, brought about an increase in deposit mobilization. We have seen deposits pick up on an annual basis in the last 10 years of the existence of these institutions of an average of 5 to 6%. But I think more importantly is the fact that the products that are available in the market as it ranges from investment in the real sector, especially the housing area. We've had experiences of where small contractors have come together with these financial institutions to bid for medium-sized contracts in the public sector, in construction, housing, in particular. And the fact that these are real issues, this is really positive things in the real sector. We have seen demand, an increase in demand in this area. Moderator, I think for me, what I want to share with this gathering is what I may consider the major challenges we face as a country and in the sub-region, and perhaps what could be done to bring about accelerated development of Islamic finance in the Gambia and in the sub-region. One key challenge that I see is more of an independent impediment coming from the regulatory institution, that is the Central Bank of the Gambia, by virtue of the fact that perhaps there isn't that expertise, and the fact that by way of training, we went to the conventional finance schools. So there's a kind of resistance to bring about the necessary, to create the necessary environment for the development of micro finance. I'll tell you, it takes ages to bring about legal framework which would allow the promotion of microfinance. I guess this is typical of central banks. We talk too much about training, but relating to that is the fact that there isn't expertise at the level of the central bank, and even at a national level. This I see as a huge challenge indeed. Beyond that, the private sector, there is a lot of enthusiasm. There is great potential to really develop this sector. Despite these challenges, I am proud to report that the involvement of SMEs with these financial institutions has brought positive development, poverty reduction, access to finance either to, for the education, especially of the girl child. Those in the Islamic finance sector in the Gambia would argue that we are able to achieve, at least a 90% enrollment, primary school, enrollment, especially for the girl child, as a result of, these products. Perhaps I may wish to stand here, stop here rather.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think it's promising to note the role of private sector, the growth 5 to 6%. I think we're already progressing towards achieving some of the SDGs, but more importantly, I think most important progress is admitting from a governor of central bank the impediments of regulatory. I think this is also progress in terms of transparency and good governance. I think there are lessons that we have to learn and do the right fixes. Now we move to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Ishrat Hussain. We have heard the sort of stability, inclusiveness, also shared prosperity, which are, I think, common threads between the SDGs and the principles of Islamic finance. With your country-specific experience and regional experience, what would be some of the lessons or do's and don'ts you will have for our audience in the room from both the implementers and also the regulators that will enhance the role of Islamic finance in achieving what we call the agenda of the people in the planet?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Let me, first of all, put a word of caution. Unlike the Millennium Development Goals, which had a set of priorities, the SDGs are not at all in a particular order of priority. They are everything for everyone. So let us try to place Islamic finance in the achievement of those goals where Islamic finance can make contribution. Therefore, we have to be selective as far as the mapping of Islamic finance to the SDG goals is concerned. We cannot pretend that we are able to achieve or contribute to all this. So that is a sense of realism I wanted to put in, because 700 million Muslims in IDB member countries are still below the poverty line of $2 per day. So it's a big challenge. And income inequalities are also increasing, and that is because of the exclusion. And exclusion is of two types. One is the voluntary exclusion, where people do not participate in financial sector because of their conviction of religious faith. And the other one is the exclusion, which is involuntary, which is the financial sector is not able to reach them either on the liability side or the asset side. So I would further, move myself to this voluntary excluded population, which should be the target of Islamic finance. So that is the context in which I wanted to preface my remarks about the experience in Pakistan. We introduced Islamic finance as a parallel banking instrument to the conventional finance in 2002. because there was a debate which said we should overcome and replace the conventional finance by Islamic finance overnight. Now that is just a recipe for disaster, because you would have a complete financial chaos and financial turmoil, and the system will come to a complete halt. And therefore, we decided to give the choice to the people of Pakistan to decide whether they want to opt for the conventional banking or for the Islamic banking. And today, almost 12% of all financial assets are held by Islamic banks. So you have self-standing Islamic banks, we have subsidiaries of the Islamic banks established by conventional banks, and we have windows of the conventional banks. So we have created a whole environment in which people can opt for this. What a new study which the State Bank carried out in 2015, it's called the Knowledge, Attitude and Practice Study. And it says that even despite the availability of the Islamic finance, there are people who are not able to make good use of Islamic finance products. So that's a very interesting phenomenon. Here you have produced the environment for Islamic finance, but people still feel that they're not benefiting from it. And if you look deep into this, the Islamic finance, because they are competing with the conventional banks, they have to have the same kind of risk-taking propensity as far as the returns are concerned, because if the returns are lower than those of the conventional banks, people would switch to the conventional banks rather than stick. And this, what I call as the less risk-taking propensity of the Islamic banks, has deprived people from small and medium enterprise financing, from small farmer agriculture financing, from low-cost housing, and Islamic microfinance. These are the four instruments of Islamic finance which can contribute towards both poverty alleviation as well as shared prosperity and also income inequality. So that is a link between the Islamic finance and the financial products. But unfortunately, because they are competing in the same market, they do not have much information about the creditworthiness of the small entrepreneurs or small farmers. There is asymmetric information, therefore they are very, very hesitant in providing loans to this particular sector. And that is where we have to work in the Islamic finance, that their target audience has to be different from that of the conventional finance. And this requires legal, regulatory, and product innovation, all three of them. The State Bank has created separate prudential regulations for agriculture, for the SME, and for the microfinance, which are different from the other sectors of the economy. But where there has been a reluctance on the part of the banks is on product innovation. They still want collateral, they still want securities from small entrepreneurs. They don't have any securities, they don't have any kind of collaterals. So you have to move away from the traditional way of credit appraisal to a new way of credit appraisal, whereby you have registry of all the credit histories and information is available which can facilitate in credit appraisal and credit approval. That, to me, the information gap has to be bridged in. As far as the attitude is concerned, the conventional bankers have now moved over to Islamic finance. But they are experts in the conventional finance. They have never been trained in Islamic finance. So one of the initiatives the State Bank has taken is to create centers for excellence in Islamic finance at 3 leading universities of Pakistan, where they are going to train professionals who are exclusively used by the Islamic finance. So legal, regulatory, product innovation, and human resource. These are the combination which in my view will take Islamic finance to the next level. Otherwise, we will remain as a marginal player if we do not reach the audience of the poor, marginalized communities, those who are excluded by the market. And that is where Islamic finance has to make a difference.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sheikh Hussain. I think we heard a very sort of innovative ways of how we can be selective, and what are the sort of success factors for Islamic finance, and that has been experienced in Pakistan, and they are moving towards, I think, successfully in the journey. Before we go to our next speaker, our host, I would like to alert the audience that we will come to ask a few questions, and 3 questions from the 3 different pillars of the group. So just be ready and try to focus your question to a specific speaker. So just be ready for your questions in the spirit of inclusivity. Very good. Now we move to our distinguished host. That we are all very pleased and happy, and on behalf of everyone else, we thank you for that. You have received a lot of thanks, but I think it is never enough for all the hospitalities we have received. So if you could now also reward us with your experience. Indonesia is they say, local perspective, it's a continent from all dimensions, vast population, diversity, thousands of islands, and challenges of access. So if you could give us your experience and sort of lessons based on, I think you have a 5-pillar strategy, but beyond that, at the local level, what are some of the challenges and achievements, please?
Thank you, Mr. Akainis. It is our pleasure not only to, join the, co-hosting this event, but also to share our experience on how we view Islamic finance is a part of integrated framework of moving toward MDG goals. I think
SDG.
Yes, SDG. I think Governor Amando already shared the experience about how the Islamic finance, especially microfinance, can be a foundation and tool for this, as well as Mr. Hussain also experience from the Pakistan perspective. But 2 aspects that Mr. Hassan remind us, we have to understand this is the Islamic finance, this is SDGs. We have to be clear where the Islamic finance can contribute on those aspects. And secondly, I think Mr. Hassan also remind us we have to be innovative, regulatory framework, integrated aspect on how we use Islamic finance for meeting the SDG. This is exactly that we are trying to integrate the process. This is the framework that we try to develop over at least the past 3 years to have integrated and coordinated strategy. Governor Agus Martojo already mentioned about the 5 pillars of the strategy. First, we need to develop about how we elevate the microfinance as also being done in Africa, also Middle Eastern. Second, we need to empower the entrepreneurship of the community, need to be enhanced. Thirdly, we need to have campaigns of this process, Islamic finance. We need to increase the demand. We need to increase the supply of this Islamic finance. But the governance aspect is also important, which is how we utilize, especially the zakat and akaf, to be used in this aspect of Islamic finance. And fifthly, how to develop the economic structure that can elevate from the microfinance into more higher economic finance. This is the 5 pillars that Governor talking about. So I will talk about this aspect in more detail, especially on how we use the zakat and wakaf for, complementing the formal or informal micro-Islamic finance. Next, please. So my focus is actually, this is the two aspects that often being forgotten. How we optimize the use of the yakap and okaf to be linked to the microfinance, Islamic finance, empowerment, the public campaign, regulatory framework to develop on this. So how to optimize the yakaf and okaf as well as the governance aspect. Next slide. This is the framework that we try to develop. I think we talk about microfinance in the middle. We try to utilize the yakap and okaf. And to the right is aspect of SDGs about how to lower the poverty, how to reduce the inequality. And zakat and okaf, I think one aspect that we talk a lot about how to use for consumption. This by itself can reduce the poverty. But we need to talk beyond that. How to use the zakat and okaf for productive purposes. This is the upper aspect. The zakat empowerment is very important to better assess the zakat of the use of the the collection and so on, the capacity building, the zakat allocation, and also the mentoring aspect. This is the integrated process for using zakat as productive, being complemented with the microfinance from the bank or the payment system and aspect. But we have to go beyond that on the social, school, and hospital to use those zakat and okaf for increasing the aspect of hunger, good health, good education of the SPG. This is also another aspect. But we have to go, beyond on the economic activities. This is where actually a utilization of akaf is very important for financing, business, and enforcement. This is the integrative process on how zakat and akaf being integrated in, microfinance for reaching SDG. 5 pillars about how to microfinance, Islamic finance, the empowerment, the education, campaign, governance, as well as other aspects. Next, I will go more detail on this aspect. Next slide, please. This is the initiative that we, introduced in Indonesia. How to integrate the zakat into the economic development, which is we understand there is individual approach using zakat for empowering economic and social aspect of the people of the ummah. This is the thing that we do, but more integrative process being introduced, which is introducing zakat community development. We already established throughout the countries. This is to answer also divergent vast area of Indonesia. We coordinate with a number of zakat institutions for collecting and this many zakat already being developed, but we introduce what we call it community development of zakat, where there is ulama, leader, collective community, introducing finance, collecting zakat, distributing zakat, and this is becoming more integrated process of zakat and Islamic finance. This is very prospective and very powerful to introduce this aspect. Next. And this is other aspect of OCAF that we try to do, how to increase the use of cash and fixed asset of OCAF for financing, introducing the Islamic finance. A lot of things that we introduced, the OCAF Act 2004, legal confederation, OCAF cash collection, as well as regulating, proposing alternative project, as well as the development of the framework. Next. And this is, I think, Director of RT already mentioning about Zakat core principle. This is also answering about governance, regulatory, legal framework. I think we have been progressing quite well. I think hopefully in the near future can be initiative, global initiative of Zakat core principle as basis of good legal foundation, the supervision of Zakat, the governance, the allocation and distribution aspect, risk management, and Sharia. By doing this, I think the trust and the optimization of the Zakat can be enhanced. Next. I think this is the challenge that all of us throughout that we are facing. The knowledge, the understanding of not only Zakat but also the OCAF. I think one thing, we talk about the regulatory aspect. We talk about the education and socialization, especially the shortage of quality of your human capital. This is the solution beyond the Islamic finance per se that we offer in Indonesia as integrative framework of the strategy of implementing Zakat core principle, as well as developing, Zakat community development, and I think this is also an example to complement the Islamic finance, as well as to be a more integrated process.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you very much. I think it's very promising to see Indonesia's experience because Indonesia has been a champion in provision of knowledge and expertise, as we famously call South-South cooperation. And I believe this could be probably another area that other member countries of IDB and OIC could learn from, because the very huge untapped potential of Waqf and Zakah and also Sukuk, which has not been discussed, I think, are quite promising. So we started at 9:32, so we have 8 minutes from our time. We will have 3 questions. I see one hand. It's dark. I see another hand there. And yes, 3 hands. So we'll have the 3 questions, but keep your questions under 1 minute. Unfortunately, I didn't see any sisters raising their hands, so you have another chance for sisters. Okay, go ahead. Yes, working.
Thank you, Sayed. I have 2 questions. First,
one question.
Oh, one question. Okay, it's okay. I attend last Friday seminar, so my impression is we have a lack of leadership in the Islamic finance to achieve such SDGs ambitious goals.
We cannot hear.
Speed up.
Yeah. Okay. In my opinion, we have lack of leadership in financial institutions to achieve such ambitious goals in SDS. Many institutions do everything, but there is no such Khalifa. So it's hard to achieve that ambitions without unity, without the coordination. For example, everybody on the floors complaining about the knowledge of the materials of the Islamic finance. However, no single, for example, website put the materials from all perspective of the expert, such on in MIT for free for people. So I think it's just simple that, so we miss. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we had a hand back there. Yes, yes, please, yes, you. Try to speak a bit louder and slower. Okay.
Mike, please.
Mike, not
Mike, please.
الغنى للتجربة بعد الدول الرائدة في التمويلات الإسلامية هو ما هو العائق الحقيقي لتعميم التجارب الناجحة للدول الأعضاء والبنك الإسلامي للتنمية. احنا عارفين بأن مثلا إفريقيا ولو بأن فيه رغبة أكيدة من أجل الخروج من المأزق فيما يخص التمويلات، ولكن التجربة الناجحة اللي يمكن تتعمم على الدول الأعضاء. النموذج الأندونيسي من مثلا نموذج ناجح، فيه دول أخرى فيها نماذج ناجحة ليه لم يكن هناك اتفاق على نموذج ويعمم على الدول الأعضاء. شكرا.
And we have one hand there. No, in this row. Yes, please, yes, you. Yes.
Mohammed Liami from ICD. I have a question to His Excellency Dr. Hussein from the State Bank of Pakistan regarding the priorities of the SDGs and the linkages with the Islamic finance. You mentioned that the Islamic finance cannot be suitable maybe for all the SDGs, and there are some that we can really contribute to. So the question is actually, what are the least goals of the SDGs that Islamic finance cannot provide the enough impact to achieve?
Thank you. Okay, I think we have been rewarded with some more time. So we have some more time. While we are answering the two questions that were clear, maybe for the brother who asked the first question, if you can write your question and send it because it was not clear. So in the time you can write. So the one question was why no consensus? Why there are different views? And the second one was what are the SDGs that are least served by Islamic finance? That was, I think, question to Dr. Hussein, and maybe we could start with you, and then we can come to the consensus question.
Well, I think there are 17 goals, and you need 17 instruments in order to reach the 17 goals. My submission is that Islamic finance can reach few of those goals much better than other instruments, because we are not trying to solve the problems of the entire world through the Islamic finance. So we have to concentrate and focus, in my view, on 4 goals. One is on reducing income inequality and promoting shared responsibility for income distribution, better income distribution. That to me is very, very important. because adl in Islam is the pillar and the philosophy which says we should do equitable distribution of opportunities and equitable distribution of gains. So to me that is very important. The second goal is financial inclusion. As I said, there are only 12% people who have access to formal finance, and informal finance is driving the entire financial transactions with huge costs. And riba, which is prohibited by Quran, is in fact being practiced by these loan sharks and these informal finance providers. They are charging 100%, 200%, rates on their products. So we have to bring in people from informal finance towards the formal Islamic finance, which is financial inclusion. Third one is use the sukuk for infrastructure financing, because the feature of the infrastructure financing is that unlike the conventional finance, if your project is not completed on time, you start paying to the banks because this is a fixed charge. But in Islamic finance, your payments start the day the project is completed. So a lot of projects are abandoned and a lot of projects are incomplete because of the conventional finance stipulation. So sukuk can do a much better job to match the revenue stream with the payment of the loans of the sukuk proceeds. And finally, I think, to my mind, and I've been arguing, that because this is asset-based, there is no financial engineering and there is no money creation. Therefore, there is a lot which the international financial system can learn from Islamic finance as far as financial stability is concerned. You won't have the 2008-2009 crisis of the global proportions if the world had the asset-based financing just like Islamic finance. So the financial stability is another goal which can be reached. Other instruments by other players can take care of other SDGs. That is my submission.
Thank you. Yes.
On the question on why we don't have a consensus, I don't know. I think my personal view, we need a lot of innovation on how actually to get the breakthrough of the Islamic finance can facilitate the economic and social development of our ummah. I think what we need is the following. Plus, I think we have a lot of model of the microfinance from the perspective of the financial institution. But remember, I think Mr. Hussein also remind us, the Islamic finance is the success of Islamic finance is not only developing the product, but how to reach the people, how to develop the entrepreneurship, how to develop the community. I think this is the longer term of the Islamic finance. In our case, in the Indonesia, for example, still we are facing a lot of bankers who is acting like commercial banking, but using the product of Islamic banking. But if we talk about Islamic banking, the bankers need to reach the people, not develop the entrepreneurship. I think this is the first aspect. The second, that's why we try to develop what we call it zakat community development. Because this, community development is very important. How to develop their, not only in the religious aspect, but the economic aspect, the entrepreneurship, collective action. I think it's very important, and linking those with the banking and Islamic finance. And third, last but not least, the core principle of zakat is very important. Even though we have a different aspect of innovation and aspect, but we can adopt international best practice. What is good practice of zakat collection, the governance, the regulatory aspect of those aspects. So I think this is the aspect that I think my personal belief can be adopted going forward.
Yes, Brother Ahmad.
Thank you. First of all, if you may allow me to comment a little bit on the 17 SDGs and perhaps how they can be achieved using Islamic finance. My view is this, and that is from a financial angle, is to concentrate on those things that would bring about achieving a faster SDG, for instance, elimination of, reduction of poverty, financial inclusion, because I believe that all these goals are kind of interlinked and would affect each other. So I agree with Doctor that indeed is not to target all the 17 at one go. Coming back to the model, why no consensus in the model, it is my view that I think what matters most here is having an objective which is actually Sharia compliant. If you look across the regions, of course, it's diverse, and you could have different products, different models, instruments, that achieve almost the same thing. But I think we should also recognize the fact that, especially the world where I come from, that we are going through an evolution, and as some of the speakers have already alluded to, with challenges dealing with expertise and so on and so forth. I don't think we should put too much emphasis on some standard model of some sort.
Thank you. We got the first question, which is about why there is no leadership in Islamic finance, sort of regulatory system, and why don't we have a leader, probably globally and even nationally. In Indonesia, the questioner asks, maybe Bank Indonesia could be a leader in terms of Islamic finance, as it has abundant resources. I mean, probably resources, financial and human capital, probably. So, according to the questioner, lack of leadership. What do we? Yes.
I think the presence of both Minister of Finance and Governor of the Bank Indonesia here, I think also from the Financial Services Authority, they're also talking later on. I think it's the testimony on actually we are very strong on how to move forward on the Islamic economic and finance. Different agencies have different roles, but we try to put those as giving leadership. From the Minister of Finance, we try to do a lot on how actually the financing of the capital expenditure as well as government expenditure using the sukuk and other mode of Islamic finance from the globally as well as locally. From the Bank Indonesia, we try to, as being suggested to very active in developing not only the thinking on the economic and Islamic finance, but on how to gain a broader understanding, broader campaigns. Especially also we are doing using also annual Islamic Sharia expo every year that we are try to do, and also try to develop the integrated framework, including zakat core principle. This is actually some of the example of the leadership that we try to do. We take note that the challenge is still there. How to to move forward on this aspect, and I think this is the thing that we have to, all of us need to do collectively, both nationally as well as globally.
Dr. Hussain?
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know that there is a Islamic Financial Services Board, which has been established by governors of the central banks, and that sets the standards, like the Basel does, the BIS does for the conventional banks. It is the IFSB which sets the standards. Then you have IOFI for the audit, accounting, and governance standards. But it is up to the country concerned to adopt those standards. And that depends on the political commitment and will, on the competence of the central banks, and the institutional and legal framework. There are some countries which have inherited their colonial legal structure, and there is very difficult to adapt the Islamic injunctions in that particular framework. So there are practical difficulties why, despite the leadership, you're not able to take this agenda forward. So we must realize that this is quite a difficult task, and this will take some time before Islamic finance can be an instrument of choice in many countries of the world.
Thank you. Just a question to the panelists, because a normal person, when they go to a bank, we know Islamic finance is much larger than the bank. It's zakah, waqf, sukuk, and even halal industries and others we haven't spoken about. But a common person goes to a bank and he says, okay, I buy a car or a house. The cost of that of Islamic finance is more than the conventional one. So why should I go for Islamic finance? What are your sort of take on that? Common man dilemma.
Frankly, this is one of example of the challenge of developing the Islamic finance, especially from the banking. As I mentioned before, the product is Islamic finance. The mindset is still commercial banking. Remember, the Islamic finance, as Mr. Hussein and we all know, there should be a close linking between the finance and economic activity. It's more a longer term relation rather than one contract and the other contract. It's totally different with the commercial bank. It is very important for the investor and the bankers to have reach out, develop the community. The financing should be integrated, not only on the car or housing, but more on the longer term, relationship. The Silatul is a very basic essence of the economic and Islamic finance.
Dr. Hussein?
I think you must realize that there is a basic principle in finance. Higher is the risk, higher is the reward. In Islamic finance, you do not have risk transfer from the lender to the borrower, but you have risk sharing or risk participation. The moment you have risk sharing or risk participation, both the lender and the borrower have to take part of that risk. And that risk means a higher price for the borrower.
Very good. And Mr. Dole?
I think for me, what I see as a challenge, this is a very good question, is the fact that where you have a situation where the conventional banks have Islamic window, the tendency is that things are driven by the conventional way. And in such a situation, based on our experience, is that the other party, it becomes awfully difficult to really believe that indeed what is being practiced is Islamic finance. And you have the banker too on the other side being influenced by what he has been exposed or she has been exposed to, which is the conventional banking. But on a much broader level, I think it would take time for all players, be it government or the regulator, the players in the various sectors of Islamic finance, to really take that step forward, to see real improvement or promotion of Islamic finance.
We have time for one last question, and that's from the ladies. Yes, sister.
You finally
Yes.
made it.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My question is related to women, since women are the victims mostly of poverty and of inclusiveness. So I would like to ask the panelists to give us an idea on the success stories that they have discussed. I heard something about the girl child in Ghana. But I would like to hear more about how you can, or how your experiences in the countries have included more women, access to women as beneficiaries, and other things like what are your options on empowering women, capacity building, making them more in like programs addressed to women and projects that can really make women the beneficiaries as such. So I'm talking about women as beneficiaries and women as providers of Islamic financing. Thank you.
Thank you. We have all three distinguished speakers who want to say 1 minute each on this. Yes. Please, we start with you, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you. Let me say this. Back home, we have what we call Gambia Women's Finance Company. It's not just, it's all made up of women in terms of management and resource mobilization, but over time, the financial institutions having seen the potential in what women can do, have designed products to make access to finance very easy, particularly the Arab Gambian Islamic Bank. And what we have seen is tremendous, a huge improvement in productivity, especially when it comes to agricultural output, although on a small scale. And linked to that is having access, of course, based on Islamic principles to finance for the education of the girls. I think this is a big achievement in that country.
Thank you. And Dr.
I
Hussain?
think by now there is a consensus all over the world that the best risk you can take is by lending to women. Why? Because women have a 99.9% repayment record. They use it for productive purposes, which contributes to the health, education, nutrition, environment of the family, and that is the best investment you can make. So Grameen Bank in Bangladesh is owned, and all the beneficiaries are women. And after I went back from the State Bank, I was chairman of the largest non-governmental organization on the microfinance. Most of the beneficiaries were women, and they were the best risk takers. So I would say there's no doubt in anybody's mind that the benefits of giving Islamic finance products to women are the largest as compared to the males.
Yes, Indonesia.
Our experience in Indonesia showing that one of the best example of community development, including also our zakat community development, is through women. We integrated those through Masjid al-Hakim, regional activities, and forming the community from the social into the economic. Today, we have a meeting between the National Zakat Authority with about more than 100 local cooperatives throughout the country, with some of them are women. This is women empowerment is one of the most successful for economic, Islamic finance and empowerment.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your very open and transparent presentations and thoughts and lessons. I'm sure the audience have benefited. And as we heard, it is very hard, not only very hard, but impossible to summarize all the excellent thoughts. I'm sure IRTI will do an excellent job to summarize and put it somewhere online so we can benefit in the future in a sustainable way. We heard that in a way the regulatory issues and challenges and its importance, the role of private sector and SMEs, innovation in Islamic financial products, I think were quite emphasized that we have to be innovative. Human capital, we need more human capital in Islamic finance. Islamic finance is much more than Islamic banking. It is sukuk, awqaf, zakah, in other areas. And last but not least, of course, there is leadership. As you heard, there are regional and global institutions, IFSB, the governors of central banks, IUFI, and also there is a SIBAFI, the union of the Islamic financial institutions, that they are also coordinating. We need more leadership at the national level. We need to make it grassroots. And as we started, Islamic finance is really, predates the principles of, or its principles, predates principles of SDGs, which are inclusiveness, which are equality and growth and prosperity. With that, we would like to thank you all and thank you, the participants, and I hope this was a useful session. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is my card.
I give you my card. Oh, yes. I will come to please. Very happy. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Syed Aka. And this end of the first session. Now we will go for break time. May I inform you that coffee break is served in the dining area at the mezzanine floor, one floor above this meeting room. Now it's 10:35. Please be informed that we will reconvene for the second session at 10 minutes to 11 sharp. Thank you.